Dark. Right, and I am going to turn up a bit. Right. So, yes, that is the map of Aphalas. If anyone is wondering what I used to make it, it is the Incarnate software. And it is a very, very fun software to use, in all honesty. I do enjoy it. It is very fun to use. This is more fulfilling, and I'm not just using it anymore. I'm going to be doing some other bits with it as well. Yeah, right. Nice and satisfying. Okay, right. The main bit that I wanted to actually discuss is, and I don't know if you're going to see the mouse, but it's over here specifically. So I say over there, but it kind of locks into over here, but it's here for now. The Kingdom of Onocris. They were the ones that came up with the. They were the ones that are a newer design, and they are a human faction. They are the only human faction to not be on Destinal. That's not actually true. They're the only human kingdom to not be on Destinal, because there are other humans about. And they live in a sort of wetland. The best way I can describe it is thinking about Belgium or the Netherlands, that kind of terrain, that kind of area. And they are basically the sort of pike and shot developers, because they are actually, it's not just them. It is a kingdom of humans and goblins. The goblins who are there didn't develop there. They are refugees from Gallicaros, if I remember correctly on what I've done on the lore. And for point of reference, Gallicaros is here. And they held this territory here, North Haraketh, before a lot of things went wrong. And they held it after the Stone Elves did. The Stone Elf. Gallicaros has a very bad habit of good forces settling there, kind of getting wiped out or driven from their home. Right, what am I doing? You'll do. So, yeah, the whole. The reason why they developed pike and shot in comparison to the rest of the world is because of these territories here, the Labyrinth of Beast and Nacerez. And if I just switch this around to... Nope, that's the wrong one. This one. It's a more political faction-based map. And this is not an up-to-date map of where everything is in terms of Aphalas. This map is set at the year 280 BGS before Galeria's sacrifice, and it's not a. I'm still working on developing it to the point it needs to be at, because one of the prime examples is one of the key components of Liberation of Destinal and the other books is this territory here, Westland, Salba, North Tenmark. They belong to House Telik. At this point, House Telik does exist, but it's a minor house that holds Tenmark. The rest of it is not. It's basically not existing yet. And. Need a kniff. will work. I'll do. But the reason why these territories here are so significant, if we actually go back to, is that the right one? No, that's not the right one. That's the right one. Is that Nazares is where the first ever Aphalas is interesting. It has there we go. Aphalas has a lot of different races about. The main sort of, I guess the best way of describing them is cannon fodder. Hello, I'm here. And the sort of cannon fodder of like the orcs from Lord of the Rings for this is the demons, the various Adars. There's Mi Adar, there's Korith Adar, there's some other experiments, like there's the first demons, who I haven't actually given a proper name for yet. And then you've also got some experimental ones, like flying ones, which again I haven't given the name for. But then you have the Scorpio Korith, which are Korith Adars, who are basically demonic giants, basically having their blood merged with Natag's people, who are giant scorpion, ancient scorpion guardians. So you basically got a giant demon that's got scorpion venom in it, and the tail, stinger even. But the reason why Onocrith developed firearms for various reasons. One is that they. What am I saying? One is that they didn't have the real capabilities or resources of creating the sort of medieval professional armies of the other human houses. And the nature of the wetlands, they kind of had to come up with something else. And the nature of their enemies, the first demons are, trying to think of the best way of comparing it. It would be like comparing it would be like comparing Spain at the height of the Spanish Empire to, basically if they just decided to go and, I don't know. Sorry, that analogy went really away from me. It's like comparing the Spanish Empire to the Scottish colonies. The reason why the Miada are so flippin' determined and problematic is because they are numerous. They are numerous, they are chaotic, and they are quick. The first demons are sort of like the blend between the Korith Adar and the Miada. And it's almost like in Star Wars Force Unleashed, where Vader is basically trying to clone a Force user, and it never comes out as good. It's either there's something wrong, and it's like you can never get that balance again. Is the best way of describing it. And the first demons, basically, back in the ancient lore, they rose up against their creator, Sinetmia. And it took pretty much the full might of Aphalas to quell them. And that's why between that and basically the betrayal of the wyverns, who now reside in the Labyrinth of Beasts, Onocrith became an incredibly dangerous isle, which is why the Ruby Mist got formed. In Aphalas, there are various cases of magic. You've got ruby, emerald, sapphire, feldspar, obsidian, agate, and then corruptive. And ruby is illusions. The ruby mist got conjured basically to make it seem like Onarkrith did not, or not Onarkrith, Onarkivris, the island, the continent, never existed. It was invisible to all eyes except for, well, basically ruby enchanters and magic users, but even they, unless they were some of the best of the best, kept away from it and couldn't see through it. And it basically, the only people, and if anyone caught the YouTube video I did a couple of weeks back now on the elves, I stated that the sea elves were, because we'll just scroll out again. The sea elves who operate out of here, Steogris, they are traders, they are focused, so they're explorers. They basically train themselves to see through it, which is why they are so effective as guides. Basically, the first demons are the forces that operate out of Onarkrith, and I don't know how many, I haven't honestly decided how many of them are going to have access to firearms and stuff like that. Obviously, Onarkrith will, because they're the ones who created them, and they were formed out of here, the Lost Forges. But the Lost Forges are the Lost Forges for a reason. They don't get operated out anymore. And then you've got the Trolls who explored over into the Arnavan. And they, because of the Trolls being part of the Protector races, they probably have access to them as well. The interesting ones are when you come to the Half-Ogres, and they actually have two realms. They've got the realm of Zakenbror, and then they've got the Principality of Medeiros, and then you've got the Ogres of Hedotelic. And to be honest, whilst the Ogres possibly developed their own, maybe a bit more crude, I don't know about the Half-Ogres. I would say they get some, but maybe not as numerous. And I created the Half-Ogres. They have two kingdoms, and honestly, I could spend probably those, the new races I came out with, the Half-Ogres, the Owl Folk, the different humans, Onarkrith and the Fayun, Fayuk, and just like the other holdings out there, sea elves, all the rest of them, I could spend pretty much a year developing all of their lore just to catch it up with where the others are. But the Half-Ogres are still like the biggest misnomer. I know in some cases what I want, and I've already confirmed some things that I'm thinking once the trilogy gets a bit more out there that some people may start theorising, and I've already confirmed one of those theories. And like, I think one of the other things, just stepping away from the lore for a second, kind of, is that I've been suggested by a couple of my mates that I make a game for Aphalas, and I would honestly love to. I just have no idea what sort of game it would be, because it could be so many different things. Which is why one of the reasons I wanted to look into doing a Total War mod, because I was familiar with some Total War games in terms of modding, Medieval 2 in particular, and it feels like that's probably one of the only ways I can probably do it justice. Power for Middle Earth 2 is another, and I think that one might actually be a bit more likely, to be honest. Oh, hang on. I think one of the interesting parts of what I want to do with Honor Growth is that they take some Napoleonic aesthetic in terms of their weaponry and everything, but because of the nature of like the wetlands and everything, it can't be like full force Napoleonic warfare, which also kind of makes me a bit sad. Unless, and this is a theory I had, and I've covered about, I've added a load of things in, and I've covered about 100 years, or closer to maybe 200 years in the timeline of Aphalas so far, in terms of lore. And there is a theory of a continuation story I want to do, and it could be fun to do in lore. I mean, if I did write it, it would probably have to be canon to the lore. But it's the whole concept of after the trilogy, because unlike something like Lord of the Rings, which obviously Tolkien toyed around with that idea, with what I'm doing, like it is actually a viable option. Because I've already done the third book, I know where it ends, and I know how it ends, and I know that there is still other things out there that have now been brought into the lore, so there is still opportunities for more to happen. I would just honestly love to. I want to. I've joined a load of Napoleonic groups and 1700s groups, and honestly, now I would love to talk to some people about just hypothetically designing sort of Napoleonic uniforms for this kind of thing. It could be quite fun, especially looking at like Talancer with the trolls. Just the trolls as very cultured trolls and everything, but with muskets and things like that. This is another new bit. The Arach Archipelago. That is got a mix. The sister realm isles are Dragon, the Isle of Mayajon. Yes, because I'm having a bit of a problem now where I've spelt names out and everything and I can't pronounce all of them. The Isle of Mayajon, which belongs to the Kirindrek, and Sestanir, which belongs to an offshoot of the Feyun humans, and then the Tourmaline Isles, which is basically where the remnants of the Sapphire Pirates ended up going. What I'm going to do is... Sorry, just focusing on what I'm doing for a moment, and then I'll be back with you. What I'm going to do is... Starting to glow, starting to glow. Excellent. Right, so you're starting to glow. Need a pushy implement. You'll do. Right. And we've got that to do as well. Yeah, it's a nice little chair here actually. There is, as you can see from the scale of what I've managed to do with this map, and I do want to absolutely establish that I made Aracin, I made Onarkivris, and then a little bit later I made the Arach Archipelago, and then I swore to myself, no more land masses. Because we've got, we count that as one, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, technically 8, 9, 10. So 9 or 10 altogether. Um, maybe that is the case. Maybe whilst because the other part of it is I haven't actually properly decided how long Aphalas' timeline will go for. Obviously, Lord of the Rings has the Fourth Age, but then it kind of sort of fades out. It doesn't really have a conclusive end. Um, Warcraft is still developing its lore. Um, that's just continuing. Skyrim lore is something I'd want to look more into, but at the moment I don't know. Warhammer is Warhammer. But even like Star Wars and that, like they don't have ends either. And it's like I would like to build this to have a continuation, but obviously I'm also trying to avoid the little trap that Star Wars falls into of technology just not advancing. So I could imagine, because one of the logical things you would have is that if something happened where either the half ogres or Onocrith invaded the rest of Aphalas, they would invade it with their own weapons, which means their weapons for any fallen troops would fall into the hands of others. And I think some of the interesting things is Kingdom of Darrenfell, the Dracons. I've always painted the Dracons up militarily wise as that being a little bit Roman in style, not a lot, but a little bit. So having them, I also realised I forgot to change the stream thing. Whoops. Let me just do that quickly. I am keeping an eye on the pan, don't worry. Um, Sorry, let me just. Sorry, you're going to have a little look at the Twitch side of things for a moment. Right. Okay, let's remove that. Just chatting. Done. Right. Done. Right, back. Okay. Now, I will admit, there is one part of this lore, and I've built all of this, and there's one part of the lore that, at the moment, and with everything else going on, I haven't necessarily focused on lore too much, but the one part that is seriously irritating me is here. The Alanay Savannah. These ruins are, I think, a mix of goblin and half ogre, if I remember. But the Alanay Savannah is so significant because of the creatures that have come there. And I went overboard. Like I've added in so many different creatures, but there are still more that need to potentially be added for this place to make sense in terms of its significance, and also to flush out places like the desert. And I mean, because one of the creatures we've got is Boygond, and they are loosely based off of the Indonesian mythology Lemberwatswana, and it's essentially a lion-headed. It's like a mix. I think it's like a mix of like an elephant and a griffin. But what I've done is essentially remove the almost like the griffin part of it, and it's essentially a winged elephant. Um, but obviously, winged elephant, like you're not going to see them fly from like Alanay over to Tartak. Like they don't do that. Like they have the wings, but the wings can't do a whole lot. So most of the cases is what on earth is that? Oh, 6. I'm on the wrong map. Sorry, I did something with the Aphalas D&D, and it required the numbering because we were picking out a base in the Great Steppe. Because like So on Kivris is this and then this, and I know that's a little bit off center, but that can be sort of balanced out. It's a rough map, kind of, even now. And then Arasin is the same. But the bottom line of all of it is, whilst the Twin Isles and Gallicaros have always kind of been like that, although I have been tempted sometimes to suggest that they got connected there, Lossakoth's been the exact same. So has Destinal, to be honest. But Arasin once held connection to Tartak as well as Shah, but this whole area got taken out, which actually did do a number on the Ajati of Erajan. There's a cat meowing somewhere. Wait, how's that bacon looking? We're all starting to get some sizzling. Alright, I'm going to be up here for now. The God Realm of Arakirin, that's the Kirindrek home. And the Kirindrek, when it comes to Aphalas, I took so much inspiration from various mythologies, Indonesian and the various others as well. Like, the Kirindrek are from the Sindaku, basically. And, like, I think one of the issues was when I was looking at Aphalas, I was trying to keep it fantasy focused, but I was also trying to see what races pretty much hadn't been done or how you can spin them, which is why the dwarves end up with forest dwarves and desert dwarves, is why the trolls are cultured and very dutiful. That's why the humans are all over the place. I mean, the humans of the Fayuk, they are actually... Or Fayun? I know that's not their original name, but I'll go on another file and I can't be bothered to open it. But I mean, you've also got the ice elves up at the top there. But it's just the whole case. And then, if anyone is wondering, all of this is controlled by two creatures. The new protectors of the sky, which are giants. Or, no, they're not giant, but they're numerous sparrowhawks. And the other is the Eyes of the Father. Lynx. Giant lynx. Taking inspiration from the Siberian lynx. I wanted to try and make Aphalas both my own thing, but also an admiration of the things that inspired it. The massive animal focus comes from Narnia more than anything. The various races, like the focus on elves and stuff like that comes from Lord of the Rings. There's elements inspired by Warhammer and Warcraft in there as well. Like, it was a real mix, and I mean, I could show up the royal families, but they're still developing and I haven't done a whole lot on them. Like, honestly, it could just be a year, just every day developing a bit of the lore, and it still wouldn't be done. And yeah, so I am toying with that mentality that in the future for Aphalas, even if it isn't necessarily through a book, although I would like it to be, we might set it a few centuries after the events of the Defenders of Aphalas trilogy, and have it be Napoleonic in sort of style, or 17 Pike and Shot is the better description. And try our best to try and stick to the lore, so it would be like seeing a limited kind of empire, I guess, from Warhammer. Or the human. I think the better description is the humans from Warcraft. I think they're a better example because whilst they have got firearms, the firearms are still fairly rudimentary. So, and when you look at who, like, I can't do it on that map per se, but like the houses, like House Lethos, or the Kingdom Cathalt here, which goes into Cathalt and Lethos, they are inspired from the Mediterranean powers of ancient times, Greece, to an extent, maybe even Carthage, Rome. House Rurkhet is a very hill-based faction force and focused and all the rest. What the heck? Tablet, come back. Sorry, tablet decided to disappear on me for some reason. Mirror sizzling. Yeah, the whole mentality of all of it, come on, tablet, is that. Sorry if you can hear that. I just think it could be quite fun. I could imagine, I could honestly imagine it being basically descended into quite a mix of factions because the demons do still exist, but they've been fairly. But by that time, I could imagine most of them have been sort of bested back a bit. But as far as I know, so far in the lore, at that point, the Ice Elves will still be alive, the Pirates will still be alive, the Steppe Tribes will still be going on, the First Demons, the Wyverns, all of these different places will still be around, which means that things can turn interesting. And it would save it being the case that some sort of triggering event between the end of Path of Shar, which is the third book, and when this started, and that would have to be in relation to Onarkithris in some capacity, or potentially the Arik Nyloth archipelago. Actually, that might be a better idea, to be honest. And I might do this in a bit of a different way, because I've started branching away from just Napoleonic War short stories, and I did start a series of short stories following the character of Morgana, who is one that's going to be quite intriguing. And I could do another. Like, there are so many characters and a lot of things that I'm looking to build and develop and all the rest of it. And this is on top of all the other stuff going on as well. The streaming, the other books. Yeah, because there are other things that also need developing as well. Right, I'm going to put this rice in now. Stop sizzling. Trying to read. Right. Now put you in there. Right. Stop. Likewise not on. Likewise not on. There we go. Crap. Okay, we'll have to do that for another minute. So yes, it should be quite fun. And also, and I know this is going to sound really daft, but one of the reasons I'd love to do that is I've got a couple of mates who are really into their music, and getting them to maybe perform some marching drum ideas or mentalities for this could be very, very amusing. And also pretty damn awesome. So, because bottom line is, the books and everything I do, that's my thing, but I love having my friends involved in it. I love having them be a part of it. Providing they don't go around and steal my ideas, which I trust them not to do, I'm fine with that. It's like they've helped me out with, I know it's going to sound really dark, but one of the things they've helped me out with is actually names. We're gonna do you for another minute. Doing Mexican rice with bacon. This is going to be interesting. For anyone who enjoys a Mexican cuisine out there, if you feel insulted by this, I do apologise. There you go. Only on that. Does this work? That should work. That one doesn't work. That might be better actually. I'm also thinking that you can come off this now. Right. Yeah, that's smelling like it's done. Most definitely. We've got scissors. Okay. Ow, 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 hot, 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 hot. Right. Okay. This is going to be, I think I'm going to need a drink with this probably. That sounded alcoholic, I did not mean it that way. I'm just going to need something to probably cool the fire that will be in the mouth. Wait, there we go. Just you on there. Right. Back in. Normally I'd be happy with the rice, but meat and something, these rice things don't necessarily come to it. So, yes. Well, we've got an hour until then. Got the food up. So instead of trying to balance it, I'm actually going to have the food out here, I think. Yeah, need a drink. Mango and orange. Or orange and mango. Balls there. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Right, and this is going to be interesting. Right, so and then move you over here. Going to move you over there. Right. Okay, can we stand you up? No, you don't stand up, do you? Annoyingly. Right, drink. Drinky, drink. Right, you're in there. What's the lamp on? Because it's getting a bit dark. Oh. There we go. Right. So, yeah. I've got a lot of ideas with Aphalas and it's just building. But I think I've come into that creative point where I've got so many ideas that I want to do with the lore. I don't actually know where to start. Which is why when I've been writing recently and stuff like that, I haven't been working on Aphalas, I've been doing other things. Because the trilogy's done. It's like, so there is breathing room. Don't have to do everything at a million miles an hour. You know what?